Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, assembled company, wherever you are, and what wonderful play, whatever one time it is, in whatever wonderful place in this wonderful big wide world you happen to be residing or temporarily placing yourself at this moment. Welcome to World Storytelling Cafe. And it is Tuesday, therefore it is our young international tellers. Now, first young international tellers has just gone off screen. She's back again. And we're going to go to Punjab. If we can take the magic carpet over the way over to Punjab, fantastic. And Jasname, what our most regular of all tellers is there. So, Jasname, please could you tell us a story?
Yes, sure. Hello everyone, my name is Jasname, and today I'm going to narrate you an European tale, which is the stone soup. Once there was a poor man. He was so poor, he just had a stone and a dog. He used to wander with those two things in the whole village. He used to go there, here, and it was summertime. So one day he thought, I can sleep on the footpath this time because it's summer. I'll wake up in the morning and find a shelter for me tomorrow. And so he lay down looking at the stars. He slept. Next morning, it was time for him to find a shelter because every day he could not sleep there. It was too irritating for him. And so he went to a house. He saw a small house and he thought, maybe I can get a shelter from them. And so he knocked. And then there came a voice. Who is it? And the poor man replied, I am here. I am a poor man and I want shelter for tonight. And so there was a reply again. I cannot give you shelter. This is my home. And the poor man said, please, I beg you, just come out and help me. And as the door opened, there was an old lady standing. And she said, yes, what do you want from me now? I said I can't give you shelter. And so the poor man said, if you can't give me shelter, can you give me food to eat? And so the woman said, I don't have food for two people. I just have food for myself. And so you have to arrange it on your own. Then the poor man said, wait, don't close the door. I have the stone. This will make delicious soup for us. May I get in now? And so the woman said, why not? And now the poor man entered her house. He said, first of all, get a big pot and add water. So she did. She bought a pot, poured water into it, and kept it on the flame. And after that, he said, go and wash the stone. I have to put it in water. And so she did. She went, she washed the stone, and then they put it into water. And now the man said, wait, let it simmer. And so the water boiled. And then he took a spoon and tasted. This tastes yummy. But I guess we can add vegetables to it. Why don't you go and get vegetables? And so did the woman do. She went, she collected vegetables, she chopped them and put it into the pot. And now the poor man said, we have to let it simmer more. And so the water simmered and boiled. And then again, he took a spoon, tasted it and said, I guess we can add meat to it. And so he said, go and get meat if you want this delicious soup. So the woman did. She ran to her refrigerator, got some meat, chopped it, and put it in a pot. He said, a while to go now, then we can have a soup. And so the soup simmered, the water boiled, and then again it was time for him to taste. The third time he took his spoon, he took a sip and said, this is just perfect, but only one thing to be added, which is salt and pepper. Please bring that also. And so did the woman. She went, she brought salt and pepper and added to the pot. Now, after some while, the soup was ready, and so they enjoyed their soup. Thank you.
Thank you, Jisname. And that was a beautiful version of that story. And I've heard that story from all over the place. In fact, from a hitchhiker once who said, my grandmother was a Hungarian gypsy. I said, did she tell you any stories? He said, yes. And I said, could you tell me one of the stories she told you? And he told me stone soup. And Duncan Williamson used to do one from Scotland called nail soup. And I'm sure David has come across thousands of them. But I said I was going to Marrakesh next. I was lying, because I see that we have Nigeria with us. And because occasionally the internet isn't so stable there. We're going to princesses. And have we got both of the princesses today in Nigeria? Unmute yourself.
Yes, but she's telling the story today. I don't have one.
Okay? So she's telling the stories, and you're supporting her.
Yes.
And so, big round of applause for Nigeria. And the younger of the sisters. Are you ready to tell your story?
Yes.
Well, please tell.
Okay. Sure. Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Please tell your story.
Okay.
Introduce yourself first for the sake of the people in the cafe.
My name is Radia Sadiq. I live in Abuja, the capital of Nigeria. The name of my story is The Tortoise and the Feast Up in the Sky. Once upon a time, there was a tortoise and he was very greedy. He overheard a meeting when the birds were saying, when the birds told him that there was going to be a feast up in the sky, and the tortoise wanted to go, but he couldn't go because he wasn't a bird. He couldn't fly. So every bird gave him each feather, gave them some feathers from their body, even the flamingo. So he flew to the feet. He said that his name was All of Us. And he flew up in the sky. When they brought out lots of food, and then the leader of the feast said, this food is for all of us. The tortoise said, "My name is all of us." So he started eating. He only remained tiny for the other birds. He was so full. All the birds were angry with him. They all took their feathers back, and then the tortoise told the owl to send a message to his wife to say that he should drop all the soft things on the ground so that he can fall on it. The owl, who was also angry, went to the tortoise's wife and said, your husband said that you should drop lots of hard things on the ground. So that's exactly what the wife did. So he was about to drop down from the sky. Then he landed on all sorts of hard things: wood, axes, metal, nails, hammers, and broke his shell. And at that time, Tortoise's shell were from that, and then he went to the doctor, the medicine man, and the medicine man patched the shell up. But it wasn't as smooth as it was before. And from that day on, a tortoise shell was never smooth. The end.
Oh, it's so good to have you back. And maybe next week, Rahana can tell a story as well. There's and I tell you what, one week, can one of you tell your story in your mother tongue, in your Nigerian, and in whichever is your mother tongue? Because I know Baba C, for one, would love to hear you talking in your mother tongue. That would be great. So now, you're not telling a story today, are you, Rana? Did you say? I'm sure Rahana said she wasn't going to tell a story today. That's okay. You don't have to. Tell us one next week. It's your turn next week. Okay. Over to... Pardon? What did you say, Rahana?
I said, hopefully next week I'll have 2 stories.
Perfect. Perfect.
So one for this week and one for next week.
Fantastic. So we've been to Punjab, we've been to Nigeria. We're now moving to Morocco, and where better place in Morocco than Marrakesh, and where better place in Marrakesh than the World Storytelling Cafe. So, have we any young tellers today? Perfect. Please introduce yourself and then tell a story.
Hello? Can you hear me? First of all. Yeah, so my name is Joe, and I'm from Morocco. I was born and raised in Marrakesh, and I still live in Marrakesh. And my story is called The King and His Favorite Servant. Anyway, once upon a time, there was a king, and this king had a very big castle. And in this castle, he has lots, like thousands of maids and servants. And within these servants, he had a very special one. He was his favorite servant. This servant was a very smart, clever, intelligent, and most importantly, a wise servant. Therefore, this king liked him very much. So he used to take him with him to almost everywhere he goes. He used to take him to meetings, walks, exploring and discovering places. So everywhere he goes, he takes this servant with him because he's a wise person. He always gives him advices. He always solves lots of his problems. So one day he was walking with him in a forest. The king was walking with his favorite servant in a forest. And the king had a knife in his hand, a very sharp knife, and he was sharpening a piece of wood, like a wooden stick. And while he was doing that, he was talking to his favorite servant and informed him that tomorrow they will take his sailboat and they will sail in the ocean. And while the king was talking to his favorite servant, he mistakenly cut one of his fingers. He didn't realize, and he cut one of his fingers. He started shouting and yelling, and then his favorite servant was rushing to help him, looking for something to stop the blood and stuff. And after he helped him, the king was still nervous and scared. So in order to comfort him, his servant told him, well, maybe it's a good thing that you lost one of your fingers. The king was very shocked and couldn't believe what he has just heard. So he asked the servant, what did you just say? The servant said, maybe it's a good thing that you lost one of your fingers. The king again was still in his shock, and he was very angry with his favorite servant. And he started yelling at him and telling him, how dare you and how could you tell me such thing? A king who has just lost his finger, and you are mocking me and making fun of me. So he ordered all of his soldiers to take his favorite servant to jail. And so they did. So the following morning, the king had to leave and sail to the ocean by himself. He didn't take his servant with him because, of course, he was in prison. So he took his sailboat all alone, and he was sailing in the ocean for hours and hours and hours. And after hours of sailing, he got lost in the ocean, and he couldn't get back to his castle. So he started looking for his way back, and suddenly he came across an island. So he wanted to get some help, therefore he reached the island and started wandering and exploring the island. And all of a sudden, he found himself surrounded by an army of women. And the women had a lot of weapons all around him. He didn't understand what was going on, and he couldn't explain himself to them because they spoke another language, and they couldn't understand him as well. So they take him to a jail, they take him as a prisoner to a jail, where he found 9 other men in the jail. And he explained to the man his story, and the man did so. Then they almost had the same story. They were all lost in the ocean, and eventually they got caught in the island, and they were in jail because of the women. So the following morning, they informed him that the following morning, all the women are going to execute all the men, because this island is only for women and was only women allowed in the island. So the following morning came, and then the women took all the 10 prisoners, including the king, to the execution place where they were going to execute them. And they started one by one. And before they execute each one of them, there was their queen who gave them the order and the time when to kill the prisoners. So she started with the first man. But before they killed the man, he took all their clothes off, and then the queen started observing them and checking them. Then she gives the order to the women to kill the man, and so on and so forth. Then the last one was the king. And it was the king's turn to be executed. And before they did that, the queen again took all of the king's clothes and she checked him. But before she gives the order to the woman to kill him, she said, "No, this one, do not kill him. Give him his boat and kick him off the island. He is not a man. He is half man because he was missing a finger. He was not a complete man." And so they did the women. They gave him his sailboat and then they sent him off the island. The king was very scared and he was rushing back to his castle. When he got back, eventually when he found his castle and went back to his castle, all his servants and maids were very happy that he came back. But the king, the first thing that he did is that he went back to the prison and he was looking for his favorite servant. And then he found him and he told him how sorry he was, and he apologized, and then he said that he understood why in the first place his favorite servant said that maybe it was a good thing that he lost a finger. And his servant said, "It's not a problem. Maybe it's a good thing that you put me in prison as well." The king was in very shock again. He didn't understand nothing. And he said, "Why would it be a good thing again for you to be in prison?" And he said, "Well, if you didn't put me in the prison, maybe we will both have gone in your sailboat and we will both be caught in the island and they could have killed me and let you on your way." And that was my story.
Brilliant telling, a brilliant telling. Now, have you got any other young people under the age of 25 there to tell a story? Or are you representing the whole of the cafe at the moment? You're muted.
Yeah, and we still have another person who would love to tell his story as well.
Well, bring them across. Thank you. That was a wonderful telling. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Welcome.
Hey,
And please, could you introduce yourself to us and your name? And we know you're in the cafe, but just introduce yourself and then tell your story. It's so good to have you here.
my name is G. I have 14 years old. I live in Marrakesh.
Please tell your story.
Okay. My story is the elephant rope. A gentleman was walking through an elephant camp, and he spotted that the elephant weren't being kept in cage or held by the use of chains. All that was holding them back from escaping the camp was a small piece of rope tied to one of their legs. As the man gazed upon the elephant, he was completely confused as to why the elephant didn't just use their strength to break the rope and escape the camp. They could easily have done so, but instead they didn't try to at all. Curious and wanting to know the answer, he asked a trainer nearby why the elephant were just standing there and never tried to escape. The trainer, they are there and never tried to escape. The trainer replied, when they are very young and much smaller, we use the same size rope to tie them, and at that age, it's enough to hold them. And as they grow up, they are conditioned to believe they cannot break away. They believe the rope can still hold them. So they never try to break free.
Wonderful.
I
So,
have a moral of the story.
please tell us.
No matter how much the world try to hold you back, I'll always continue with the belief that what you want to achieve is possible. Believing you can become successful is the most important step in actually achieving your goal.
Really important, a really important lesson. Fantastic. Now,
Hey, John,
yeah,
would you ask the two young tellers to share their name again?
we've got another one coming. Hold on. Oh, sure. Welcome. And before you start, do you know, can you share the name? Baba C wants to know this, the name of the two tellers, the other two tellers in the cafe. What are their names? Do you know? It doesn't matter. We can work it. Maybe Waleed can help us.
Yunus and Ayub.
If you could write that in the chat for Baba C, he'd probably appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay. So now, you've been on before, haven't you? So I recognize you. So if you could introduce yourself again and then tell your story, that would be fantastic.
Well,
Hello.
I'm well known to most of you. I'm Yunus, a student and a member in the Kafeh Hannas Association. I'm also the art teacher in the association, and now I'm willing to share a story, a folklore story about Juha. Juha is well known as the Arab folklore character, who has many stories. Among of them are hilarious and satiristic. He's well known by his intelligence. So the story of today is about Juha and the old merchant. So the story begins as Juha is very brave. Juha was known for his courage and his eagerness to work energetically and actively among the people of the village. When he used to tell them about himself in his meeting with friends of heroism and imaginary courage, and whenever he sat in a place around which friends gathered around in love to listen to his anecdotes, and Juha at that time was devoid of work. One day, an old merchant came to the village looking for a man to work for, and the people told him that Juha was the right man. The merchant went to Juha and asked him to be of help in his work. And he said to him, I have heard of your courage and your love for work. And if you want to work with me, I will give you the bid. So Juha agreed to work with him. The merchant said, tomorrow we will carry some goods and go together to the neighboring town. Perhaps yourself for travel. Then he gave Juha some dirhams to leave for his family. And the next day, the merchant left with Juha. On the way, Juha was telling the merchant news of his bravery and his phantom stances, until the man became distressed, and in the middle of the road, but the merchant wanted to sit in the shade of a tree and rest beside a spring of water. So he said, "Come on, Zuha, drop the loads and back of the donkey to take the rest." Zuha said, "Sorry, sir, my arm hurts." After a while, the merchant said to Zuha, "So let's give it food for us to eat." Zuha said, "Unfortunately, I do not cook well." The merchant cooked the food and put it on the plates. And he said to Zuha, "Come on, bring some water from the spring." And Zuha replied, "I'm afraid, sir, that my clothes will get wet and cause a cold." The merchant brought the water and said, "Come to eat, Zuha." Zuha said, "I will do it so that you do not think I can do anything." And when they finished eating, a large bear suddenly appeared to them. And the old merchant was afraid and said, "Come on, Zuha, show your courage that the people on the village tell about. Let's save us from that predatory bear." What should I do?" said Zuha, shivering in fear that I cannot save myself from the little mouse, but you have to do as I do. The merchant said, "And what should I do?" Zuha said, "Thus." Then he ran away from the bear, and the bear ran behind Zuha and left the old man and his donkey. Zuha thought that he had moved away from the bear and looked behind him and found the bear rushing to him. So he kept running, while the old woman took his donkey and the old man took his donkey and fled. Finally, Zuha arrived at his village, exhausted, and caught his breath. Friends gathered around him and asked him about what happened. Zuha said, "I saved the man from the bear, but the bear made me pay the price for that running and scared." That's the end of the story.
I loved you, her stories. That'd be brilliant. Thank you. Now, maybe that looks like a wonderful cafe. It looks a fantastic cafe. Now, should I happen to be in Marrakesh, which I will be in 2 weeks' time, and I will be there on a Tuesday night, and if I was looking for that cafe, what is the address?
I have another one.
Okay, please tell the other story then.
Yes, the second story is about Zuha, that he had a financial troubles. Zuha, for financial reason, had to sell his house, but could not bear to part with it for good. In the sale contract, he therefore retained the right to visit the house now and then in order to have a look at the old nail hammered into the wall, to which he was particularly attached. His vision, however, became so frequent and accurate at such inconvenience hours that eventually the perceive his own sanity and peace of mind. The new owner decided to leave the house to Zuha. That's the story.
Yes. Well, there are many versions of that story. Sometimes he sells the bottom floor and leaves the nail, and I think and he occupies the upstairs, and then eventually he gets his whole house back the same way. I love that story. And so we've had three. This has been a record night for the cafe. We've had three tellers from the cafe, three young tellers from the cafe. Three. Oh, So
I was agreeing. I was trying to hype it up.
three. Yeah. Okay. So what is the address of the cafe? Waleed, you must know where you work.
Is it near to the Mocha?
It's Rue the wet, the Rue the what? Now I put you on the spot. I'm sorry. It's just down the road from the photography museum, opposite the restaurant, the fun
Yes.
restaurant.
Kondok, yes.
Yeah, round.
Photography, yes.
Yeah, in the whole museum area, round the corner from the from the museum that was the old Islamic school. Yeah, I think I can find it. I'm going to have to find it, but because you can't tell me the address, I'm going to have to find it myself. I have to ask them at the herbalist if I get lost. Right. Okay. Right. Well, thank you, everybody. There's no more tellers from the cafe? No, that's perfect.
Come on.
Thank you, Nigeria. The princesses, actually, the single princess, but then she had. You were the compere, weren't you? You were the compere tonight in Nigeria, and you're introducing your sister. So there was some. And Jasname's gone because she has to be up at 5:30 in the morning because she has sports at 7:30 in the morning. And in India now it's about 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock. So thank you all. What's coming up? Deborah Weller on Friday, 6 o'clock. And then on Sunday is the Worldwide Story Round. And then on Tuesday, we have Young International Storytellers. And so so we'll have lots and lots of them. David, we'll try and get some people in from Gaza at a time, but I have no direct contact with Gaza. So it's a bit off and on. But for tonight, it's been amazing. Babasi, have you got a comment before we go away?
Is water wet? Yes. First of all, to the princesses, you all are always great, and I enjoy listening to your stories. You get better and better each time you tell. And to the youngest one in the cafe, whoa, you were brilliant. You were nice. And I hope that you'll come back and share with us again, because each time you share, you'll become more confident and you'll become even better than you were today. To the gentleman sitting to your left, you were brilliant as always. Thank you very, very much. I enjoyed you, but I concentrated on the young one first because we have to, we have to support them more, And for the gentleman that just told the story, can't wait to hear your next one. And and Jasname, as always, is wonderful. I claim her as my niece, but as John wrote, licensed to tell. As he says, she has to be up early in the morning. And I think I'm going to be quiet and watch folk eat because I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, that is and you're going to be back there in February to eat that wonderful vegan menu, aren't you?
Yes.
Right. As will Norman. Norman, have you got anything to say to us all?
Thank you, John. I was impressed by the variety and depth of the stories told, and each person was obviously enjoying telling the story. So thank you. It renews my own enthusiasm for story and reminds me, and yes, storytelling is fun. And so thank you, each one of you, for telling those stories, because without you, I don't have anything to listen to. Take care.
Absolutely. And Waleed. He dreads this moment when I say, "Would you give your opinion, Waleed?"
About what?
About today's storytellers.
Yeah, it was cool. I really enjoyed it. That's it.
Now you are the master of that, and because you're concentrating, you're the pilot. You're driving the magic carpet. You can't
Yes.
lose your concentration for a minute. If you rabbited on the way that Babasi and I do, we'd probably crash the magic carpet. David's back with us. David, have you got anything to say to our tellers?
Yeah. Sorry, I lost connection for a moment there. Yeah, I have. That was a great session. Jasname, if you're hearing this, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. I'm wearing these new headphones, so I'm not sure. Okay. So Jasname, if you're catching this on the recording, thanks very much for another version of that marvelous story, Stone Soup. That's great. And Radia, I agree with you that greed is a very dangerous thing. And you told that story really well. But, the tortoise has a rough shell. And I think all of us have rough shells because we have to learn from our mistakes. So but you're wearing a beautiful white. So I think you're pure and innocent and have never done anything bad in all your life. And as for the young men in the storytelling cafe, congratulations. Well done, Mehdi and Eunice, for telling your stories so well. But I want to say a particular thank you. Is it Ayub? Because I really enjoyed that story, Ayub. And the thing that I really enjoyed about the story was that it was a story that you had learned and that you could tell without even looking at a piece of paper or a book. You were telling the story and you knew it really well. And that's what storytelling really is. So that was absolutely marvelous. Brilliant day. Thank you very much.
And thank you, David. So I think I've covered all bases. If Kamal's there, are you pleased with your students? We'll just assume that Kamal is pleased with his students. And on that note, I shall say good night, and I'll see you all next Tuesday, but come and join us on some of the other programs as well. Thank you. Bye-bye, and I'll see you all in Marrakesh in a couple of weeks. Thank you once more, Waleed, for making it all work.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Until
everyone.
the next time,
Nigeria,
to be
bye
continued.
Morocco, bye Canada,
Absolutely
bye
brilliant.
Washington, D.C., bye Devon, bye.
Bye, everybody. Not everybody. Bye, everybody. Oh, they're making me hungry.
Bye. Baba C.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your Black History Month storytelling. I'm only halfway through, so I'm going to listen. I haven't listened to your part yet. I just heard the beginning, but yeah, that was a nice event.
We had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that we play well off of each other, even though we have absolutely no idea of what each of us is going to do. And I thought about us getting together prior, but I think that would spoil the spontaneity.
Yeah, I agree. It's great.
And Bade and I were able to hold our banter to a minimum.
Wow.
That was a miracle.
Whoa, only just.
yeah. It was a miracle, but thank you. Listen, I want to take your program, but we have to talk via email because let me just say I'm between, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, between
fundings. But anyhow, we'll talk, and someone's trying to reach me. But anyhow, look, you are a great person. I enjoy your students. I enjoy you. And I'll see you when I see you and talk to you when I talk to you. All right, Waleed, I'm about to say it, Waleed.
Goodbye,
right,
Marrakesh. Goodbye, Waleed.
Now, when I say it, Waleed, you have to hit that button and take everybody out. You ready? See out. I need a better call. I need a better call letter. All right.